Hello and good day to you. It's Thursday, and here's a story regarding the DWP. This was reported in The Guardian by Frances Ryan. She's a disabled journalist and writes for, obviously, the MSN paper, Guardian. And this was online the other day, yesterday in fact. So this is all about the DWP. A decade after the Tories demonised disabled people on benefits, it's happening again. So 10 years on, nothing's changed. Let's have a look at this article. So the DWP, obviously they are doing the same thing that they've always done. This is basically disabled people can't afford food, heating or anything like that, but they are actually being demonised by the language that's being used about them, i.e. scroungers, things like that, and it can be classed as a hate crime because this is the sort of thing that's been generated over the years. And it's George Osborne who launched the cuts to the benefit system 10 years ago. And it was tens of billions of pounds of money. And of course this was the time of the hate crimes being started in the era of Benefit Street and the Sun's campaign, Beat the Cheat campaign, where it's quite normal for a national MSM to invite readers to report disabled neighbours if they thought that they were claiming benefits fraudulently, when we all know it's very, very difficult to get benefits because of all the rigmarole and the assessments that take place. So it's all starting again, because this is just a continuation, because we find ourselves back here again. And of course, with labour shortages and a population that's in poor health, well, you know why that is. We know why that is, because of the various medical interventions that have created many thousands of disabled people involuntarily. Politicians and the media are setting their sights on the so-called economically inactive, the lazy people, the long-term sick and disabled. Millions paid benefits without ever having to find a job. As a recent front page in the Daily Telegraph, it has a frenzied air of a piece of investigative journalism that encouraged some sort of organised fraud racket, when it's quite literally, completely just making things up. For those that don't know, there is a very, very tiny percentage of fraud within the benefit system. It is so small. If you compare it to MPs claiming expenses, for example. So this is quite a bad thing to be in, this position. So these millions are simply people who are too disabled or ill to work. And of course the sickness benefit has been renamed or rebranded as a jobless benefit. Okay, so forget the idea that if you get disability benefits it's quite difficult, or the number of people who die after being found fit for work, and we're currently in the millions for that in the last 12 years. It is literally millions that have died. The dog whistle is a familiar tune. Hordes of disabled benefit claimants could hold down a job if only they weren't so idle. Of course, then we have the Jeremy Wine idiot, who's Channel 5, he put it into a debate about cracking down on jobless benefits for sick people. Is it wrong for taxpayers to fund them indefinitely? Yeah, right. So, should we leave the disabled to starve to death? But when you look at it, I mean, it is a system that is failing because the increasing numbers of family are working all day and they're still unable to put food on the table. So, it's not just those who can't work and have a disability of some sort, but there are other issues as well. This is also the sentiment being pushed by the government and the DWP that the reports have been and shown that some disabled people cannot afford food or heating, and this is seen as being irrelevant because most people that you talk about this will say that they're basically living a life of Riley off your taxes, and while you're working your butt off to hold down 2 jobs to pay your electric bill, there are millions of disabled people who are sitting on their arse doing sod all and getting paid for it. But in reality, it's nowhere near the truth. Now, obviously, there is some good news to this because, contrary to the media narrative, at least 2/3 of people think that UC rates are too low. But we're obviously past a decade, Brexit, a pandemic, and lower living standards. It points to a growing instability and division, not less. A growing consensus within the political classes have blocked any real change in attitude towards social security. They want to try and get away with paying as little as they can. So in this climate, sick and disabled people are not so much human beings with needs and feelings as burdens on the state. Obviously, useless eaters is one of the phrases that we hear all the time. What we can be sure of is clear. Those with power and resources will always be ready to stoke the worst of our instincts to hurt those with neither. Yes, a good article, well written. Pity I can't read it properly, isn't it? But you see the point that it's never going to end. This is a targeted campaign, and in my lifetime, I've seen it get worse, and with the number of millions of deaths from obviously benefit claimants and disabled people who have had to suffer from this system, which really is not fair. It's not a fair system and needs to be changed, but it will never be changed, unfortunately. Not until we get rid of all of the people in power and build it from the ground up. Right, comments down below as usual. Share, like, whatever, and I'll see you very soon for another video.